Swāmin Niti Namine. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swāmin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we are reading from Canto 2, the Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 3, Pure Devotional Service, the Change in Heart. And we'll start from verse number 25 today.
Morning.
2, 3, 25. Athabhidhe angamanonukulam prabhashashe bhagavata pradhana yat ahaveya sakiratma vidya visharado nripatim sadhu prishta. Athabhidhe angamanonukulam prabhashase bhagavata pradhana yada haveya shakiratma vidya visharado nripatim sadhu prishta. Atha bhidhe angamanonukulam prabhashase bhagavata pradhana yad ahaveya sakiratma vidya visharado nripatim sadhu prishta. Synonyms, translation, and is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Synonyms: Atha, therefore. Abhidehi, please explain. Anga, O Sūta Gosvāmī. Manaha, mind. Anukulam, favorable to our mentality. Prabhashashe, you do speak. Bhagavat, the great devotee. Pradhana, the chief. Yat aha, what he spoke. Vyasakhi, Śukadeva Gosvāmī. Atma Vidya, transcendental knowledge. Visharadaha, expert. Nripatim, unto the king. Sadhu, very good. Prishta, being asked. Translation: O Sūta Gosvāmī, your words are pleasing to our minds. Please therefore explain this to us as it was spoken by the great devotee Śukadeva Gosvāmī, who is very expert in transcendental knowledge and who spoke to Mahārāja Parīkṣit upon being asked. Purport: knowledge explained by the previous Acharya, like Śukadeva Gosvāmī, and followed by the next, like Sūta Gosvāmī, is always powerful, transcendental knowledge, and it is therefore penetrating and useful to all submissive students. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the second canto, third chapter of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, entitled Pure Devotional Service, the Change in Heart. Om Ajnānatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatav aham vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So it's actually one sentence purport, 2-3 lines, yet so powerful. In the translation, it is describing the characteristics of a Shrota. Shrota means a person who is hearing this transcendental knowledge. And the sages of Naimiśāraṇya are speaking to Sūta Gosvāmī that please tell us more about what did Śukadeva Gosvāmī spoke to Mahārāja Parīkṣit. What did Mahārāja Parīkṣit ask Śukadeva Gosvāmī? And which is showing that they are so eager. They are so eager to hear this transcendental knowledge. Though they have been hearing this for so long, but they want to hear more. And what is so special about this transcendental knowledge? Because it is nectarian. It is very sweet. The first canto, the very first chapter, and the third verse says, Nigama kalpataru garidam phalam sukha mukha damrita drava samyutam pibatam bhagavatam rasamalayam muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavuka. What does it mean? That the translation goes like this, that, oh, expert and thoughtful men, relish Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Śukadeva Gosvāmī. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. So the first verse of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Janmadhyasya Yatonvaya, that establishes Sambandha Gyan. That means knowing our relationship with Krishna. The second verse is where we revive that relationship. We get to know the process by which we can revive that relationship, Abhidaya. And the third verse is this one, the verse that we just recited is, it's prayojan. That means it takes us to the mature fruit. By practicing this process, what it gives us is this mature fruit, Galitam Phalam. So Nigama means Vedic literature. And literature, this Vedic literature is compared to Kalpataru, wish-fulfilling tree. The tree that fulfills all our desires. But in this tree of Vedic literature, there is a special fruit. If we actually see, the essence of the tree lies in the fruit. We see how the tree is good or bad. It's just depending on the fruit that it gives us. So this Galitam, that means it's not all liquid, it's not all solid, but it is semi-solid, this Galitam Phalam. So Vedas are compared to the wish-fulfilling tree, and within that wish-fulfilling tree, there is a delicious fruit, which is very tasty. It is not hard, it is not completely liquid, it is semi-solid. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives an analogy of, compares Bhagavatam to this ripe mango with no skin and no seed. So just imagine a mango with only the essence and the pulp. And this is the fruit, this is Bhagavatam. And then when the parrot bee touches the fruit, that fruit becomes tasty. In Sanskrit, parrot is called as Shukha. So when Śukadeva Gosvāmī has touched with his lotus mouth this Bhagavatam, and when he has spoken through his mouth, then it has become Amritam Drava Samyutam. That means it has become that ecstatic fruit, and it is so sweet, it is so nectarian, that it is inviting us to drink this fruit. Pibatam Bhagavatam Rasam Alayam. That means we are drinking this fruit, this Bhagavatam through our ears. Like in Ayurveda, it is said that you should eat water and drink food. That means you should chew your food so nicely that it actually becomes liquid, and you actually, like you're drinking water. And you are eating water means you slow down. That means you be mindful. You eat slowly. You drink slowly. So Bhagavatam is so relishable, and it is rasa alayam. It is the abode of all the delicious rasa, all the delicious taste that is there, that we can imagine. And it is making an appeal to us, to everyone, whether it's intellectual, whether it is a person who is relishes, that please come and taste this fruit. It is inviting us. Our acharyas explain that any activity, any relationship that we have in this world gives us some taste, and that taste attracts us to that particular relationship, to that particular activity. So Śrīmad Bhāgavatam says Krishna is Akhila Rasamrita Murti. Akhila Rasamrita Murti means he's the embodiment of all the rasas. And if we want to experience complete fulfillment, then we come in contact with Krishna, then we come in contact with Bhagavatam. Only then we can experience that satisfaction. Only then we can experience that rasa. Like in the material world, when we connect to something, when we get some taste, that that taste is not everlasting. Like a new relationship or a new business, a new job, a new venture, anything that we start new, it tastes very sweet at the beginning, but then gradually it fades, right? It's like a bubble gum. Like when we chew bubble gum, at the start it's very sweet, but as you start chewing it, you find it, oh no, it's no longer sweet, and then you get bored, you make a bubble out of it, and that bubble burst, and then it just sticks on your face, and then you're just taking off all that remnants of that bubble gum from your face. So similarly, in this material world also, all the relationship, there is rasa, there is sweet rasa at the start, there is excitement, like how a boy and a girl meet, how they show in Bollywood movies, there is love in the air, the violin is playing, the fabrics is flowing like that, or roses are falling like that, there is romance in the air. That's how they show. So at the start, it is like it's like that sweet taste that we get from the bubble gum, and then gradually it gets painful, because it no longer gives us that pleasure that was giving us before, and then we try to make a bubble out of it. We just try to make more juice out of it, but all it does is gives us pain. It gives us misery. So in actuality, relationship in this material world, they actually they don't give us satisfaction, because that taste is not enduring, that taste is not everlasting. However, with Krishna, when we come in touch with Krishna, when we come in touch with his name, through his energy, his devotees, that experience that we get, it's always increasing. It keeps increasing every day. That's why we see, in Krishna consciousness, people have been chanting the same mantra. There is no, like, even 500 years ago when Mahaprabhu came, Haridas Thakur was chanting the same mantra. It is not that, now the mantra has changed and we are chanting something different. No, we are chanting the same mantra. We have been chanting, some of us have been chanting for past 2 years, some of us have been chanting for past 10 years, some for even 20, 30 years, like that. So we have been chanting the same mantra for the past so many years. Why is that? Because we are getting some rasa. Yes, we may not get the same rasa like Haridas Thakur is getting, yet there is still some rasa that we are getting, and that is why we are chanting this. It is the same story, same shlokas, same story, same shlokas, same. The essence is same. Every Bhagavatam class, mostly the essence would be the same, right? We want to be lovers of Krishna, but still we tune in every morning at 6:30, because we are experiencing that rasa, that taste. Like in mundane world, we don't read newspaper from which is backdated, like a newspaper which is a few weeks old, or newspaper from last week. No, we want fresh news. But in Krishna consciousness, we are reading the same story of Krishna. Even after 5,000 years, we are still not getting bored. And Bhagavatam is inviting us that please relish this fruit of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. It is spoken by Śukadeva Gosvāmī, and when we hear it from Śukadeva Gosvāmī, when we hear it from his representatives, we will also relish it. another name of rasa is taste. So, how it is saying in this verse that it is showing the eagerness of the sages of Naimiśāraṇya that please talk to us more about what did Parīkṣit Maharaj asked and what did Śukadeva Gosvāmī replied. So like that, we can see their eagerness. They are experiencing that taste in Krishna consciousness. So for us also, we may think that how can I experience that same taste that these sages of Naimiśāraṇya are experiencing? Because eventually everybody, anything that we are doing in this world is actually, we do this because we are getting some taste. When we watch cricket, when we go for a holiday, when we play cricket, when we do any activity with our children, when we watch movies, anything that we do in life, we are doing it because we are getting some taste. Prabhupada writes in purport to this verse 113 that Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is the cream of all Vedic knowledge. And how can I increase the taste? How can I experience the same taste that these sages of Naimiśāraṇya are experiencing? Prabhupada writes that when we hear it patiently, when we hear in a submissive manner, then we get full experience. That means there has to be culture of respect. That means if we are respectful, if we are patient, if we are submissive, if we are attentive, then we can experience the same taste that these acharyas are experiencing. Because, when the purpose of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, the purpose why we are reading this, why we are studying Śrīmad Bhāgavatam every day, is not to become big pundits. It's not to become knowledgeable people. Ultimately, it's all about heart. This title, the chapter is entitled as Pure Devotional Service, Change in the Heart. And that's what we are aspiring for, that change in the heart. And Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is revealing to us that Krishna is not only great, he's also sweet. In most religions, we see that how they present God as great. Most religions. In other religions, we don't hear that, oh, God is playing with his maids, or God is having pastimes with his mother, or God is stealing. In fact, when other religion, they hear about these things, then they get bewildered or they criticize. I remember one time, I was we went for City Harinam, and there was this, they had set up a table to offer lamp to Lord Damodar, and we were, like, everybody was passing by, so I asked him to, if you would like to offer a lamp, and then he said, no, I'm Muslim. So I said, that's all right, our religion is eternal, you can still offer. And then he just got a little offended, and then I said, it's all right, you can just have some sweet. There was some sweet balls there. And then he said, no, I don't want to eat that. And then he said, so who do you worship? And then I asked, and I said, yes, Krishna. And I showed him the book, the Bhagavad Gita. And he said, yes, I'm studying, different religion. I'm also studying Christianity, like that he was saying. And then he's saying, oh, Krishna, the same Krishna who's blue and who steals the clothes of the gopis, steals the clothes of the girls. And then, I could sense that, now he's crossed, like, he doesn't want to, he just want to have an argument, and he wants to, and I wanted to stop him there. And I said, maybe we can discuss this later. And then, but then, I could sense that how he was making these derogatory remarks towards Krishna. So in other religion, they get bewildered when they hear that God is doing all these things, that Krishna is doing all these things. He's having pastimes with his friends. He's having pastimes with his cowherd girlfriends, like that. So they get bewildered. But, Prabhupada he's such a genius. He has presented God as great as well as sweet. Like, because if we present God as just great, then there will be no taste, there will be no rasa in life. We may become hard-hearted. But if we present God as only sweet, then we become mental, we become sahajiyas. We may just, exhibit emotions without undergoing transformation within, right? But if we present, if like how Prabhupada has presented Krishna, if we understand the truth and the reality that there is sweetness as well as greatness, then it becomes, it's a balance. Then we can understand that yes, Krishna is both sweet as well as great. And why is he sweet? Because he's having these sweet pastimes. There are so many devotees, when they are chanting with Krishna's name, then they are experiencing that sweetness. Madhuram madhure bhyopi. So like how we say for holy name, that holy name is great because it can destroy all the sins, which is accumulated for millions of lifetimes. But holy name is also sweet. There are some devotees who can chant 64 rounds every day because they are experiencing that nectar. They are bored. Some devotees who are bored, they chant rounds. Unlike us, who when we are bored, we just pick up our phone. Vaktum samartho apina vakti kaschit aho jananam yasanabhimukhyam jive bibasva mritame tadeva govinda damodara madhaveti govinda damodara madhaveti govinda damodara madhaveti. That it says that even though anyone is able to chant, Vaktum samarthopina vakti kaschit, anyone is able to chant, still no one does. And then aho jananam vyasana bimukhyam, alas, how determined people are for their own undoing. And then it's saying jive pibasva mritameda evam, that O tongue, jive, O tongue, just drink the nectar of these names, Govinda Damo Dharmadaveti. Just chant these names, Govinda Damo Dharmada. Drink this nectar, feel the rasa. So holy name is that powerful. Like I was giving the example that, when there are devotees, there are advanced devotees who are bored, they chant Hare Krishna. So, our internal situation is actually tested, is not tested when we are happy. It is actually tested when we are sad, when we are lonely, because that determines that what our character is. What are we doing when we are sad, when we are lonely? Are we taking shelter of Krishna in that time? Rupa Goswami says, no jano janita. I don't know how much nectar is there in these two words, in these two syllables. Krishna. Tunde Tandava Niratum. That means my senses are going wild. I don't know why I only have one tongue. He's wishing that he has millions of tongues. I wish to have millions of ears. 2 ears are not sufficient for him, or not sufficient to hear his holy name. And he's saying, when I chant this holy name, my heart is like a courtyard. And when holy name starts dancing in the courtyard of my heart, then I start experiencing ecstasy. I start experiencing bliss, joy. I don't know what rasa is there in these two syllables, what nectar is there. So this rasa, it actually goes beyond intelligence. It goes beyond logic. Srila Prabhupada, writes that gradually there is increase of this rasa, and we cannot artificially meditate on it, because rasa is something that has to be experienced. It is an experience, and we cannot apply logic. Like example, pastime, like we cannot apply logic to the pastimes of Krishna. Like one time, someone asked my Guru Maharaj that why is there Panchatattva, and why not 6, like that. And then Maharaj said that we cannot apply logic to Krishna's pastimes. He's independent, he's Swarat. He can do whatever he likes. So one time Braja Bihari Prabhu asked Jai Advaita Maharaj, he asked a question about spiritual world. It was a technical question about the trees in the spiritual world. And Maharaj heard his question, and looked at him, and then he closed his eyes. And and like few minutes passed, and the devotees were wondering, why is he not answering the question? And then Maharaj closed his eyes, and he's smiling and he's nodding. And immediately, Vrajabihari Prabhu could sense that he has entered, just by asking this question about Vrindavan, he entered into Vrindavan. And then Maharaj opened his eyes and then smiled at Prabhu, and he said, is it okay if I don't answer the question? And then he just simply said, Granthra Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai. So like that, he was relishing Bhagavatam. He was, when he was asked this question of about the trees in Vrindavan, he just went, he went into Vrindavan. He transported himself into Vrindavan. So he was simply receiving. So there's no question of logic when it comes to rasa. We just simply have to be present. We simply have to be there to relish. And that is the beauty of Bhagavatam. I am speaking Bhagavatam, you are hearing Bhagavatam. We may not experience the same joy that these sages of Naimiśāraṇya, Parīkṣit Maharaj, or Acharyas are experiencing, yet there is some taste, and that taste is gradually increasing. I was hearing a lecture of Srila Prabhupada on this particular verse, and Prabhupada was mentioning that how Mahārāja Parīkṣit is asking and Śukadeva Gosvāmī is replying. So both of them are fit to ask and fit to reply. Bhagavat Pradhana. So Mahārāja Parīkṣit is a perfect disciple and Śukadeva Gosvāmī is a perfect spiritual master. And if both of them are fit, then the discussion of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam becomes very pleasing. What is it? Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti hitkarna rasayana katha. That virya bhavanti satam prasangam mama virya samvido. Virya means potent, powerful. Prabhupada often used to give this example that when a potent husband and a potent wife, they come together, then immediately there will be pregnancy. Therefore, when two potent, powerful devotees come together, then immediately there is Krishna. The Supreme Lord is established within their heart. And Prabhupada says, Hridi avarudhyate kim va pare. Avarudhyate means you capture Krishna, you capture God. So when there is discussion between devotees, in the Chatushloki of Bhagavad Gita, Machita madgat prana bodhayantas param parasparam kathayantas cha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. That these devotees are relishing the pastimes of Krishna. They are getting this enlightenment by discussing these pastimes of Krishna. And that is why this transcendental knowledge is sweet. It's so powerful. And another reason why this transcendental knowledge is so powerful is because it is coming from the disciplic succession. How in the purport Prabhupada is saying that knowledge explained by the previous acharyas, like Śukadeva Gosvāmī, and followed by the next, like Sūta Gosvāmī, is always powerful, transcendental knowledge. That means when the knowledge is coming from the disciplic succession, it becomes very powerful. Like how this knowledge is coming directly from Krishna to Brahma, then to Narada, Vyasadeva, Śukadeva Gosvāmī, like that. So that it is establishing the importance of disciplic succession. And even in material world or in management circles, we hear this term that leadership is known by succession or their successors. Anyone who is a good leader, he would create successors. And if somebody has not created successors, that means they are insecure. They are not really a leader. They would fear that, what if the next generation comes and I would be replaced? So that sense of insecurity limits the person from creating their successors. But amongst the leaders, the best leaders are the spiritual leaders, the transcendentalists, the devotees. But because devotees are satisfied within themselves, they are satisfied with their relationship with Krishna, they are secured, they are detached. And that's why they are able to create this succession. That's why they're able to transmit this knowledge from one generation to another generation. But in the material world, this doesn't happen. In the material, there are two ways we learn knowledge. It's Aroha Panth and Avaroha Panth. Aroha Panth means it's ascending process. Like in the world of science, we do experimentation, we do some trials. There is hit and trial. Then they say, they do some experiment that doesn't work out. There are some losses. There is so much expenditure of energy, time, resources, and like that they're trying. The scientists are trying, and they discover one thing, but then they say, oh no, this doesn't work. Maybe they go on to the next thing. Then they keep on experimenting like this, and then they come to something, and then again something like that. So there is this hit and trial method, and that is called ascending process. It's Aroha Panth. But intelligent people, they learn through descending process. That is deductive process, which is Avaroha Panth. Like how we are listening to, we are hearing Bhagavatam, or when we hear any class, it's all descending process. Even when Prabhupada was asked, he always gave the credit to his spiritual master. He was not taking credit for himself. Why? Because he realized this knowledge is actually, it's all coming in disciplic succession. So when when we say Avaroha Panth or descending process, it means the knowledge is already there. We realize it, and then so we practice it. We act on it when they say, okay, chant 16 rounds and follow 4 regulated principles like that. When we do that, when we practice it, then we realize, yes, it is working. Yes, of course, it is not working the way it has worked for the advanced devotees, yet there is still that taste, there is still that inspiration that helps me keep going on. So it's this Avaroha Pantha, this descending process is an intelligent way of learning. It's like, why to rediscover the wheel? Like, in India, we used to, most of us from are Indian, we have studied science, or we have done our studies in India, where we used to read these NCERT books. So in one chapter, they used to give this theory of this chapter, and then in the second chapter, they would give the drawbacks of that particular theory that we had studied in the previous chapter. So like that, we see that this ascending process is prone to errors. It's prone to flaws. For example, it was first said that there are 3 dimensions. Then Einstein pointed out, no, there is a 4th dimension, time. And then they said, no, there are 12 dimensions. But actually, Mahabharata points out that there are 64 dimensions. So the ascending truth is gradually going towards the descending process. But that takes a lot of time. That takes a lot of energy. So like, unlike spiritual knowledge, spiritual knowledge is always perfect. Like Bhagavad Gita was spoken 5,000 years ago. It was perfect then. It is perfect now, and it will be perfect for the coming years, because that knowledge is intact. That knowledge is dealing with the descending process. The spiritual knowledge is dealing with what matters. Like ascending process or the experimental knowledge, it only deals with matter, and matter too, not completely, because matter also has 2 parts, gross matter and subtle matter. So yes, they address this one part of the matter, the gross matter, but the modern scientists, they don't know anything about the subtle matter. They don't know anything about mind, intelligence, false ego. So with Avaroha Pantha, with descending process, we get knowledge about both spirit as well as the subtle matter. It's like, if I'm on the 1st floor, then I'm able to see things on the ground floor. Or if I'm on the 2nd floor, I'm able to see things on the ground floor as well as on the 1st floor. Therefore, this, when we rely on the Paramparā, then we get the overall knowledge. Krishna himself came to establish this Paramparā. Right? He said that this knowledge was, he was telling Arjuna that this knowledge once was spoken to Vivaswan. And then Arjuna questioned, how come, but then Krishna pointed out this knowledge is eternal. Like, so even the knowledge of, this ascending knowledge is not approved by Krishna himself. Like, there is this, I was listening to a class and they said that Eklavya, Eklavya was, he was like a person in Mahabharata, and he was learning the art of archery by looking at the picture of his guru. He just accepted Dronacharya in his heart as guru, and then he just kept his picture there, and he was practicing archery like that. And then he used to sometimes sneak peek what he's teaching Arjuna, and then that way he used to practice. But that's not the way. There has to be humility, there has to be submissiveness in the disciple to be able to catch that knowledge, to be able to grasp that knowledge. So, this empirical knowledge was even not approved by Krishna. In fact, it is said that Eklavya was killed by Krishna himself. When Krishna was taking Rukmini, he kidnapped Rukmini and he was taking Rukmini away, then Eklavya was a friend of Rukmi and Shishupal. And then Krishna killed him like that. So even Krishna is disapproving of this empirical, this ascending knowledge. But what is the proof that this knowledge that is coming from the disciplic succession is working? How can we, there are two ways that we can see. Of course, there are many ways, but one way is that at each level, people are becoming self-realized. That means a person who's just 1 year old in the movement, who has just joined the movement 6 months back or 1 year back, he's also experiencing, we see that they are growing, they are becoming self-realized. Or a person, and same for a person who is 20 years old, 30 years old in the movement, is also becoming more self-realized. So that is one way to see that Parampara is intact, Parampara system is working. So what is the proof that, this place is connected to power? When all the light in the house, all the fans in the house, all the appliances in the house are working, that means this place is connected to power. And then the second way to assess that whether this disciplic succession is working or not is when somebody is giving knowledge, when somebody is transmitting this knowledge from one generation to the other generation, then their realizations are same. Like, it's not that Rupa Goswami is saying that Brahma is the greatest, or Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that Goddess Durga is the supreme personality of Goddess. No, they all have the same realizations. They all are saying that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead and Bhakti is the way to realize Krishna. Bhakti is the process. So when the realizations of all the previous acharyas are the same, that means it is not mental speculation. It is disciplic succession. This knowledge is coming from disciplic succession. This knowledge is coming from Krishna. Like, there's this example, it is said that in the case of Hitler and Himmler, so Himmler was his right-hand man, Himmler used to carry Bhagavad Gita, and he used to consider himself as Arjuna and Hitler as Krishna. And he used to argue that the bodies that we are actually just killing the bodies, they are actually the souls. And how they were basically justifying their decision of this war or this brutality based on Bhagavad Gita. So this is all mental speculation, right? They are not guided, because they are not guided by the guru, they are not guided by the disciplic succession, any spiritual teacher, they misinterpreted the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. But in Parampara, it is not like that. The knowledge that comes from the Parampara is very reliable, because that knowledge is, like in Parampara, the knowledge is protected like a river bank is protecting the river. Like how, river is, stopped from, when there is a bank in the river, then that helps river to stay intact and does not deviate. The river does not deviate because of the presence of the river bank. Same way, the spiritual knowledge is protected, it's intact, and it is working because of the Paramparā. Because these acharyas, they do not allow any deviation. They do not allow to obstruct the knowledge. Like how Prabhupada was so strong on Mayavadis, who was so strong on impersonalist, that like every lecture that you actually you hear of Prabhupada, most of the lectures are just targeting these Mayavadis. Why? Because these acharyas, they don't want the general mass of population to be deviated from this actual knowledge, this sweet knowledge. Because ultimately, the aim why we are here, why we are listening to Bhagavatam every day is because we are relishing this fruit of Bhagavatam, right? We understand that there is something that I'm not getting from the material world, right? I have tried everything in this material world, but it is not working. But yet, when I come for these classes, when I hear this transcendental knowledge, there is something in my heart. There is something there that actually inspires me from within to come again, and I know that it is for my good. Like so, ultimately, our aim is that we relish this Bhagavatam, like how Bhagavad Ashra Prabhu says that the substance of our existence is we want to become lovers of Krishna. We want to relish this Bhagavatam. So I'll stop here and see if anyone has any questions, any comments, any realizations.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. This was a beautiful class that you're connecting to the Bhagavad Gita and explaining those intricate details. Thank you so much for this morning class.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Everything is from, like I said in the class, it's all coming from the Disciplic succession. Nothing is, and that's how Prabhupada presented his knowledge, and he wants us to present the knowledge like that. Okay. Anyone else? There's this question on the chat. Can a devotee work with meat due to profession when one has no intention of working with it but has to work for some reason? Well, ideally, yes. We should try to have a profession that is clean, that is more where we can at least, if not remember Krishna, at least we are not going against the principles, the regulated principles. Yet, but of course, like you said, that you have no intention, but still you have to work. In that case, we just have to pray. I think we have to pray hard. We have to pray to Krishna. We have to pray to our Paramparā that we may get out of this profession as soon as possible. Of course, like sometimes in the material world, it is not possible. It is, you have to do some things. You have to maintain your body. You have to maintain your family, and you have to do things that that are going sometimes against. But yet, we have to pray very hard. I think it's when we pray is actually, we actually undermine the importance of prayers. It is when we are saying that, when Prabhupada is emphasizing that and he's so bold on going against impersonalists. Why? Because Krishna is actually a person. Krishna is a person. And this Prabhupada is a person, right? And when we are establishing, when we are praying to them, when we are praying to our Paramparā, when we are praying to our spiritual master, then they are responding, and we can just, like, at the most we can only pray, and I'll also pray for you, Prabhu, that even though like you said, that you don't have the intention, but you still have to work for some reason. So yes, ideally we should not, but if we have to work, then we just, even when we are in that profession, when we are going to work, we are praying to Krishna, Krishna, please help me get out of this. I don't want to do this, but I have to do this. But I'm praying to you, Krishna, with folded hands, that please help me get out of it. Prabhupada used to give this example of how there is this a lady who's having an extramarital affair, and she's married, but she's having an extra a relationship with her beloved. But the way she's working in that relationship, with the way she's dealing with her husband is so perfect. But constantly she's always meditating on her beloved. So like that, even though we have to work to maintain our body, yet, in our consciousness, we are constantly thinking about Krishna. We're constantly remembering Krishna. And then Krishna will somehow or other find ways to get you out of there. Is that all right, Prabhu? Anyone else? We'll stop here. Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you for the nice class, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
So today, in the evening, His Grace Bhagavata Prabhu is giving class. We'll see you all in the evening. The topic is very nice. Please do not reject the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we'll see you all there. Granthra Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Mataji.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mataji.
Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.